Okay, so this is my presentation for my internship that I did at the Downtown Cabaret Theater. This is the introduction, as you can see. Okay, so first I'm going to introduce myself. So if you guys don't know me, hi, my name is Sophia, and I recently completed my internship at the Downtown Cabaret Theater in Bridgeport, and today I'm going to be telling you all about it. So sit back, relax, and enjoy my show. So this was the beautiful internship site. So as you know, it's the Downtown Cabaret Theater in Bridgeport. So basically it's like a cabaret style. So if you don't know what that means, it's kind of in the middle of like a concert venue and like an auditorium. So it's like a big stage with like these little tables, and they don't like give you food. You have to like bring your own food. So it's pretty cool, I guess. And they do musicals, they have a children's theater, and they just basically do like all types of events that are theater related. So this is the site experience. So why did I choose the Downtown Cabaret Theater? Well, I mean, first of all, like I knew I just wanted to do it somewhere where I was gonna like have fun with it, and I was gonna be like excited to go. So I actually went to this theater to see Cabaret, and it was like really great. And I was like, this would be like a really cool place to do an internship at. So I emailed the guy a nice lengthy paragraph, and then I emailed another person, and then it got set up, and I was really excited. So I basically wanted to get like exposed to like more professional theater, because I've only really seen like a middle school setting and a high school setting. So I thought that seeing something more professional would kind of help me in the future, so I can like look back on like my experience here, if that makes sense. So what is the business of the Downtown Cabaret Theater? So basically it's a professional nonprofit organization in which they produce quality musicals and shows in Connecticut for children and adults. So right now, the show I worked on with them was called 9 to 5, so that's like a classical musical. And it was pretty cool to see like just like the whole process of the show come together, because it was like very different from like how law puts on musicals. So it was great to see the difference between the two. And so my expectations prior to interning, so I mainly went into my internship with an open mind and excited to learn anything and everything about theater, but there were some things that I was like specifically curious about. So specifically it's learning how professional directors like interact with the actors, like seeing what they like sacrifice for the sake of the show. And during the show, it's actually really interesting because one of the actors ended up getting like fired, and their show's tomorrow, so the show's no longer tomorrow. So it was pretty cool to like see like how they make those decisions and why. So very entertaining. So responsibilities and accomplishments. So I didn't really have like a lot of responsibilities. It was mainly like an experience for me to just observe what was going on, to kind of get like a better idea of how shows are put together. But there were some things they did let me do. So discussing the plan for the day with the stage manager, director, and choreographer, helping the director give notes to the actors after run-throughs, staging the stage for different scenes, asking the director questions about his career, and making the actors coffee, playing the rehearsal tracks during rehearsals. So one of the major accomplishments was the fact that I got to kind of learn about stage crew. And since I've always been on the stage, it was pretty cool to like learn about a different aspect. I definitely prefer to be on the stage, but it was still cool, like, you know, learning how that works, because it's a lot more than just like taking the props off the stage. It's like way more collaborative. So minor challenges, like I said, this whole thing was mainly like observational learning for me. Like I really kind of just like sat back and like saw everything come together. So the minor challenge that I had was not being able to be up there with them and being like super hands-on, but that didn't like hold me back from like still learning anything. Here's the conclusion. Okay. So how did the internship experience contribute to my intellectual growth and sense of responsibility? So it definitely taught me like the main skills that like a director needs to have. So like communication and like compromising were like big ones, and time management. So the thing with this show is they rehearsed for like 4 to 6 hours a day, like 4 days a week, and we do 3 hours a day, 4 days a week in high school. So it's definitely more time that they spend rehearsing, but they put the show together in like 6 weeks, which is insane because with us it took like 4 months or something, so it was crazy. And then will the internship experience help you in the future? 100%, because it's literally, this is more professional theater that I got to like witness. So in the future, if I'm maybe like debating, how should I make the rehearsal schedule, I can kind of like fall back on 9 to 5 and just remember how they spend one rehearsal like blocking the entirety of Act 1 and then learning like 3 songs. Like they do so much in one rehearsal and it's crazy. And immediate future plans. So if you guys don't know, I am going to college for theater, specifically directing. And after that, I plan to get a master's in the fine arts in directing. And then after that, I hope to have like a professional directing, like either internship or career. So I'm really excited about that. And I didn't get offered a summer job for the sole purpose that this is the last show of the season, so there won't be any shows in this summer. And end scene. Does anyone have any questions? What's up?
So I know that for your college application, you actually had to put together like a plan if you were going to produce or direct a show. Do you feel like, you created that, before doing this internship? Would you have made like changes or learned something new from this experience that maybe you would have put into that original plan that you'd come up with?
Yeah.
Yeah, tell me what
So for the directing portfolio, I basically, like you said, like I mapped out the whole show. So one of the sections I created was like rehearsal procedures, and I said the rehearsals would be 2 hours long. Nah, they would have to be much longer just because of how like much they can accomplish in one rehearsal if they have time. And if you want to do more shows with your group, then it's better to get them rehearsed quicker. So I would definitely have done longer rehearsals. And I definitely think I would have probably added some more things to the objectives that I created. Like the fact that the lead male actor got like terminated 2 days before the show. The reasoning behind that was for the comfort of the other actors, and I personally think that's like really important. Like the number one thing I would care about is like the comfort of them. So probably I would definitely add in like more like stricter guidelines, but not in a bad way, just because that's like in professional theater you kind of have to make those sacrifices.
What's up? What was the difference in the actors, obviously the professionals, but in terms of obviously the rehearsal time was shorter, so they picked things up faster. What did that look like? How were they keeping up and staying on top of all the material getting thrown at them?
Well, for starters, like just like we had, they do have a Google Drive where they put absolutely everything in there so that they can practice at home. But as they were learning things like these, a lot of these like actors are like having like BFAs in musical theater, so they're very like more rounded, and it's very easy for them to like learn the material and then like remember it, and like with like constant rehearsal, like they just get like better at it. But it's different. See, like with us, we would do like a run through like at least once a week. They would do that too, but they wouldn't like go and review like old material until like a couple weeks later. Like the second rehearsal they learned the opening number 9 and 5, and then they didn't really rehearse it until like a while because they were trying to learn everything first. And I guess they just have like their like more experience is just what helped them like remember it better, if that makes sense. It's just because they're more professional.
Can you tell me about your favorite day at your internship?
I would have to say it was my last day, which was yesterday.
Okay.
I don't mean that in a bad way, but it's because this was the first time that like I really got to like see the whole show like in all of its glory, because last week I was just seeing them rehearse like with their script. Like they were still in the process of getting off book last week, and there was like no costumes or lights, but yesterday the whole thing was literally like thrown together, and it was really cool to see. And the fact that I did get to witness, this is gonna sound bad, but the fact I got to witness one of the actors getting like fired, that's gonna happen in the future. I might have to do that in the future. So that was something like that I kind of felt privileged to witness, if that makes sense.
Right. It's not a comedy
Yeah.
You got to see something kind of rare.
Yeah, exactly. Because I didn't expect that. Because they were supposed to open their show tomorrow at 8, but now they can't because they have to replace the lead actor, which is crazy.
Will you go down and see the show even though you're done?
Yeah, I probably will. I don't know when it's gonna be because now they have to like train a whole nother actor and they might
Yeah.
change some things around since like, they have like this time now. But yeah, I definitely want to go see it because it's really funny, if I can say. It's not no High School Musical.
Was there anything from your experience doing drama here? Did you take anything that you learned like at law and like could see yourself like applying that in your internship, or like saw correlations between how we do things? I know you said it's obviously very different, but did you see any correlations or anything?
Yeah, I definitely did. So for starters, I'm gonna be honest. If I would have went into my internship with no theater background and I heard the term stage left and stage right, I would have been like, what are you talking about? But when she was like saying like stage left, stage right, downstage, like I was like, yeah, I know what you're saying. Like I totally get that. But also the fact that the amount of breaks that they're giving, like I noticed that it's pretty like common between act 1 and 2. Like there's a break for the actors. Like I noticed that. And I would also say the notes at the end, they did have nice like lengthy pages of notes to give at the end of each rehearsal. So there's just like similar things that directors do, but I kind of think that was more like common sense. But they definitely did things like way different than like a high school drama club would, like way different.
I think the Google Drive thing is really interesting.
Yeah.
That's not what I would have expected.
Yeah, and they have a
But-
Google Drive that has all the dances in it and everything, and that's always good too.
Great job.
Thank you.
My name is Fin Sclafani, and just a little background, I'm going to, I guess in the future, I'm going to University of New England to study, I'm doing their major health, wellness, and occupational studies, so it's a little bit broader, but filters into OT, or occupational therapy. I did my internship at 2 different sites. The primary one I did it at was KidSense Therapy Group. My site supervisors were Dina, who helped me coordinate schedule and stuff, but then actually in the Milford site was Eliana. And then I was able to get a couple hours at Rehabilitation Associates. So my site supervisor for that was Daniela Reyes, and then I observed 3 different therapists, Lauren, Kelsey, and Daniela. I chose my sites because I have been interested in OT for a while. At the beginning of the school year, I was 100% set on that's what I wanted to go into. Now I'm still definitely interested in the medical field, and it's still a field I'm interested in, but there's just more I want to check out and learn about before I settle down on anything. Primarily, I had already done an internship at KidSense prior to this. It was something I did in my own time, weekly, about 3 hours a week after school, and I did that at KidSense for almost a year. So I wanted to kind of see more of that. Originally, I didn't really want to do it at KidSense again because I wanted to see a different environment, but finding a place that could accommodate the large amount of hours we do was tricky. So I was able to get about 8.5 hours at Rehabilitation Associates and did the rest at KidSense. And I was also looking forward to really being there every day for several hours at a time and seeing any parts that I might have been missing when I was only there at the same time every week. So the business of these companies is they provide services like occupational therapy, physical therapy, and speech therapy. So occupational therapy
I feel like most people don't really know what it is, and it is helping people develop the skills they need or recover if it was from an injury to participate in their daily life. So if you had a stroke, that might mean figuring out ways to adapt to some of that weakness on one side of your body that would allow you to get back to school or work or anything like that, your things that you do in daily life. The differences between the two primarily is that KidSense only treats kids, and Rehabilitation Associates treats a lot more. They have a broader scope of treatments, and they do primarily treat adults. So their pediatric clinic was a lot smaller, even though their whole facility was bigger. They both provide PT, OT, and speech therapy to treat a variety of different issues. And primarily in kids, it's helping them develop skills relating to gross motor skills, fine motor skills, sensory integration, and executive functioning that help them with their daily life activities, usually through play. My initial expectations were largely influenced, pretty much entirely influenced by my previous experience at KidSense. I had seen exactly how it was before, and I had done, the majority of my time was spent doing observations, and because I was there at the same time every week for, like I said, almost a year, the kids, and I observed the same therapist, the kids that I saw were, for the most part, stayed the same. So they got to know me really well, and they got comfortable with me, so I was able to get more involved, which was super cool. So I was expecting similar to that at KidSense and then Rehabilitation Associates. I didn't really know what to expect. I figured it would be kind of like KidSense, but I didn't really know. Responsibilities at KidSense, I had a list of daily tasks. For the most part, it was like cleaning and organizing. So it was organizing gym equipment and puzzles and toys, or cleaning, like vacuuming, wiping down mats, sanitizing things, especially in the baby room, because babies put everything in their mouths. So just making sure things were sanitized. I also did a couple specialty projects, which I'll go into later, that were either given to me by other staff, or that I kind of had the idea and asked if I could work on that. And I didn't get a ton of opportunity to do like actual one-on-one observation like I had prior, but it was a different setting because there was also another intern, and so it was just it was way more different than I expected it to be from my previous experience. At Rehab Associates, it was a very tailored one-on-one experience. So I was with one therapist I was usually there for 3 hours at a time for over 3 days. So with the one therapist, I followed them for all of their sessions. And I was in the room watching no matter what was happening, whether it was an evaluation, whether the parents were in the room, 2 settings that I had never been allowed to observe previously. But it was cool because I was treated kind of similarly to how I had seen grad students being treated at KidSense. They gave me opportunities to ask questions. The layout of the day was very clear. Like the first day, she was like, "Hi, nice to meet you. You can either sit and just watch from the sidelines. I have 3 sessions now, and then afterwards I have to make a phone call, and then I can answer any questions you have." It was laid out completely. It was really cool. And I didn't really have any other duties or responsibilities because they have aides. So kind of doing what I do at KidSense, but paid. So I don't really have to do anything like that. Accomplishments, my favorite, was an interoception activity that I made. So interoception is the ability to register what's going on inside of your body. Am I hungry? Am I full? Do I need to pee? Is my heart racing? And that can help you not only know if you need to, help your body, or how you're feeling too. You can register okay, my heart's racing and I feel shaky. Maybe I'm anxious, or maybe I need to eat. So this was, I overheard therapists talking about wanting something like this, because one of the therapists was working on it just on a whiteboard with a kid, and she was like, "We need something like this that's permanent year round." And I kind of jumped at the opportunity. It was like, "Hey, do you want me to make something like that?" And so I was given a little bit of guidance, but then I went and I found the images from Google, formatted them into a Google Doc, printed them out, cut them out, laminated and cut them. My thumb is still kind of numb from cutting them all out. But then I outlined Sam, the therapist, who I know the best because she was the one I observed, but that is her outline, and then added Velcro to everything. So you can also take it off the wall because it's just Velcroed on, so if they want a kid to be able to like access it easier. And then I also have, you can see different settings, so you can see like now the bladder is full, there's a different one for that, so that kids can like put on where their bodies are at. So very cool. A lot of therapists were super stoked about it, which was cool for me. Other projects I did was some different organizational projects. They had a monster of a storage closet that I did make along with the other intern there from Foreign, Riley, and we made a little bit of progress on that. We were asked to make this, the kind of cloud pride wall that you see. That was one of our tasks for the start of June for Pride Month. And so kids can take the hearts off the wall and write what they love about themselves or anything like that and then put it back on. And I organized a bookshelf too, kind of partially by kind of like theme. So if it was like a social emotional book, I put all those together, that kind of thing. The challenges, so the only one for Rehab Associates was that they only had limited hours to offer. And that was mostly an issue in the beginning, and it was tricky because the whole process of learning how, like, until I got my schedule and learned how many hours I would be getting, took a while. I had to mail in the form and then get an interview, and so I had a little bit of an idea, but I didn't really know how many hours I would get. I thought I would get more than I did. And then at KidSense, sometimes the instructions weren't super clear. They're like in a list of tasks, there were sometimes things where I'm like, I don't know what you want me to do there. And there wasn't, it could be tricky to find someone who's available to talk to and know like if I was interrupting something or not. The benefit and balance, it felt like a lot of the tasks benefited the company more than it benefited me. It did feel like I was doing work that should have been left for a paid employee, like they should have someone to do full-time or part-time hours or whatever they need. And then some kind of relating to that, some tasks didn't seem relevant to me learning and getting what I was supposed to be getting out of this. So doing like cleaning tasks and stuff. Skills gained were primarily organization related. And then kind of like breaking that down into communication, primarily emails. I hate emails. I hate them a little bit less now, I think. And I'm slightly better at responding to them, but it definitely got me practice and kind of forced me to like work on that. And then advocating for myself and just having to be the one to be on top of that and do it myself and not have someone else be like, hey, do you need this? And then time management, I had to manage my schedule, so asking for time off, navigating like school events, which 2 of my days were 2 to 7 p.m., and so a lot of school events in the evenings conflicted with that. So there was several days where I couldn't be there or had to leave early, and managing that was kind of difficult, especially since doesn't all fit nicely and into a school day where everything is planned around your school day, like it is in high school. And then timeliness, I had realized I developed some bad habits from high school of being able to roll into my class half asleep at 7:23 and not really have any real consequences. So working on that, and I also had a slightly longer commute. It was still like 10 minutes, but compared to my 3-minute commute to here, was a little bit tricky. Future plans. The coolest thing is that I might be able to get an aide position at Rehabilitation Associates. I am still working on them with that. Once again, I need to send another email to follow up on that. But yeah, it was cool because I saw that the first day and I got to talk to one of the aides there, and then the next day I was there wasn't an aide, and so I just pitched in and helped out and did things I saw her doing. And then the next day when I was with my site supervisor observing her, which was they have a pool OT setting, which is super cool. because they have multiple different locations, but they do pool OT, so I got to see that, which was super cool. And I don't know, I didn't really know what to expect, and it was interesting. It was a lot more of the space where OT and PT overlap a little bit, but it was cool to see. And so, and then when I was with my site supervisor, I got to talk to her about, she asked if I would be interested in something like that, and I said, absolutely. My schedule's kind of hectic for the summer, though, and she said they're used to working with college students, so they like slot people in wherever, which was so exciting, because I had been looking for a summer job, but didn't think I'd be able to find anything, so to be able to find something that's relevant and is something I'm interested in is really cool. And then I got to see insight into how 2 different companies work. It was very interesting to see. Rehab was much more organized and very structured. They also did 30-minute sessions rather than an hour, which in therapy settings it's usually 50 minutes. And so that was really interesting. I think a smaller space also helped them keep organized because they weren't just like bringing new stuff in all the time. So that was really cool to see. And yeah, in general, I just got to see different settings, different kids, different therapists in work, that kind of thing. And because I had already done this internship, or had an internship experience, I didn't feel a ton of change. Like, I don't feel different about my career major than I did before. So yeah, that was my internship. It was pretty cool. Does anyone have any questions? Sophia?
So what does an aide do at Rehab Associates?
So, like I said, they do a lot of the same stuff that I was doing at KidSense, but paid. So putting things back after sessions, the aide would kind of like swoop in right after and wipe things down. So that was also nice because it wasn't just occasionally wiping things down, not sure when things needed to be cleaned. And they would just wipe down anything the kid used, and having a smaller space definitely helped with that. I think they also do maybe some just like general help around. They also provide an extra set of hands if the therapist needs it. If a kid is upset or they just need it, it's like, hey, this kid is a handful, can you grab me something that I need? So like I said, similar stuff to KidSense.
Well, I just want to make a quick comment because I think taking the initiative that you did at both locations, so putting together a project that you saw like and they had a need for, you just jumped in and did it, and then same thing, taking over the aid position when that person wasn't there, obviously shows that you were very conscientious of what was happening around you and took that initiative. So that's an excellent skill set to have and to take with you in the future. So just wanted to give you props and good job on that, because that's really impressive.
Thank you. And it was nice because it might be getting me a job.
Yeah, exactly.
Already.
That's huge.
Quick turnaround.
Absolutely, you got it.
Yeah. You all set? All right.
I think it was the same question. I know it's repetitive, but the same question I asked. So, do you have because I know yours is a little varied too, but do you have a favorite day that you reflect on and say, wow, that was just a really good day and I enjoyed myself?
I think yesterday and the day before were pretty cool because that's when I was working on the majority of that interception project. So and I worked on it for a couple hours straight. So getting to see it all come together and finally get to see it and see it in use too was so cool. See kids immediately start using it and seeing how therapists were using it. And then other than that would be my first day at rehab, because it was that was a long day. I did KidSense and then Rehab Associates right after, so it was 9 hours of interning. But I didn't feel tired because it was so new and it was so cool, and the therapist I saw was absolutely amazing. She was so sweet, was very clear, and then set aside time to talk with me and seemed very excited that I was interested in OT.
All right. Great.
Okay, so hi, my name's Lucas. And for my senior internship, worked at like a phlebotomy place, so I was able to like get my phlebotomy certificate, which was really cool. And just a little bit about me. Next fall, I'm gonna be a freshman at University of Iowa, which is kind of random, but it worked out. And what was I saying? Oh, and my goal is to be a physician assistant, which kind of goes hand in hand with my internship. So to be a physician assistant, to like apply for like the master's program, you need to have like clinical hours. So I thought that I needed to get a job to like work through college anyway. So I thought if I got a phlebotomist job, I can kind of knock two birds out with one stone. So my internship site was Training Direct in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And I was able to get my phlebotomy certificate, which is really cool, which I'll have in like 3 weeks. And so what I didn't really know when I first went there, I thought I was going to be practicing mostly on the dummy, but I actually did 30 punctures on real people, which is it was so, and also they did them on me, so I look a little sketchy. But it was really cool, and I also did finger sticks, and like I tested like people's glucose levels, which was really bad on one day when I ate a bunch of I brought in munchkins, and I ate like a whole bunch, and I forgot that we were gonna do that, and it was just like 180. It was like, oh no. And yeah, I just thought that this was a really good opportunity for me to do this because, like I said, I need the hours anyways, and the pay is not bad either. So one of the first things that we learned to like physically do in the class was to tie a tourniquet. So the tourniquet's like what you need. The whole purpose of it is so that you can palpate the veins and so that they're more on the surface so you feel confident to get them. Because no one likes a phlebotomist that misses multiple times. No one. So that was kind of cool, but for me it was kind of hard to begin with. But I eventually got it, and it's pretty cool. Okay, but then the next thing that we learned were the veins in the arms. So we have 3 different veins, but we only draw from like this area in the hands. We don't draw from down here because there's arteries and like other things, so we'd be safe. So the first choice, which is the safest one to draw from, is the median cubicle. That one. So it's like right in the middle of the arm, and it's the safest because there's no muscles or anything around it. And then the second choice is the cephalic, which is more on this side, so it's more in the muscle, so you have to go deeper. And then the last choice is the basilic vein, and that one's a little bit more dangerous only because of it's right next to the artery, and it's right next to the so the artery has a pulse, so it's just like dangerous. Like if you hit it, and then there's more nerves too right by it, so that's that. And then these are like in the next couple of things I'm gonna be showing like the different things that we use. So this is the butterfly needle, and this is more used only on the hands and on the basilic vein because if it's more surface, just to be safe not to hit nerves or go too deep. And you can see that the plastic tubing around it, that's just the holder to like hold it in place, and then this is the vacuum tube. So when you put in the needle first, and then once you have the needle in, you put in the vacuum tube and it sucks out the blood, which is kind of scary to see it all come out at once, but I got used to it, so it was good. And then there's the straight needle. This needle is a little bit longer and it's a tiny bit thicker, but you can get different gauges based off like what you need. So like if you're doing like at Red Cross, if you're donating blood, the gauge is 16, which is a bigger gauge. So basically the smaller the gauge, the bigger the needle, which is kind of like opposite, which is kind of weird, but so, and then again, like the vacuum tube and the holder. Yeah. And then this is the dummy arm that I practiced on. So this was more used just for like to see the depth of like how far you have to go with the needle, because if you don't want to like go past the vein, which I did a couple times. Sorry to those people. Or like if you don't want to be in the skin either, because if you're in the skin, it hurts more because there's like the more sensory neurons on the top layers. But once you're in, you just feel like a little bit of pressure and it doesn't hurt too much. I got it done on me like 30 times. So. What?
Is it anatomy class coming up?
Yeah, I know. Medical terminology and anatomy really helped me. Yeah, it came up a lot. And then this is just the order to draw blood. So there's different tubes, like the tops are different colors. So there's different departments: microbiology, coagulation, chemistry, hematology, immunohematology, which is blood bank, and chemistry. I think chemistry is pretty cool. And that's what my next slide is about. But then there's also additives. So like there's different things like coagulant, like for like blood clottings. Like you don't want the blood to clot before you are able to do your test. So there's some additives to keep it from clotting, so or to speed up clotting. So it's pretty cool. And then this is what with the chemistry. So the chemistry, you only use centrifuge for chemistry, which is like it's like this machine that basically spins everything the tubes really fast, and it like breaks up the blood into different parts. So plasma, and then the formed elements. So it's 55% plasma and 45 formed elements. And formed elements is basically your white blood cells, your red blood cells, and your platelets. And usually it's supposed to just be separated like this, but something that I saw in class once, if you have a really high cholesterol level or like fatty, your plasma can actually like become hard. So when you're thinking about eating French fries every single day, maybe don't do that.
I just ate Wendy's French fries. I do not.
Yeah.
Don't let 'em prepare 'em.
And then my overall thoughts, I think I was really happy to do this, and I think it was a really good experience, even though it was really tiring. I spent over like 100 hours in like basically one spot. Like I switched between classroom and lab, and we went over 17 chapters in 3 weeks. Yeah, it was like 700 something pages. And we took a test weekly. I did pretty good on those tests. I just think that it's a really good spot to like help me like move on like in my what I want to do in the medical field, and I also can get a job whenever I want. So.
Questions for Lucas?
Sophia,
What's the most satisfying part of taking someone's blood?
when the blood actually gets in the tube, because if you miss it, then it doesn't come out, and it's like
Oh yeah.
it's so sad, and then I feel bad because I don't want to restick them. But then you can also move the needle a little bit if you're just slightly out of it. So you're like in it and you're like moving it, but you don't want to hurt them. So it's like. Finn?
What was like were there any people that you did it on that you like were really hard to get the stick, and kind of what was the issue there?
So there was one in particular. She only had one vein in her hands, and if you waited too long, it would like disappear. They would like run away. And when you do hands, you also have to grip and pull the skin really tight, or else the veins roll.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think there was one time I did 32 and I only missed 4. So I was pretty proud of myself. But it was it was really nerve-wracking because that was one of the ones I missed because her vein completely rolled back and I was like, so like I pulled it, but I guess I wasn't pulling it tight enough, and then I went in and I had to stick her twice. I felt so bad. But yeah.
So I was wondering if you could tell me what it felt like the first time you were going to do it on like a live person.
So the first day was actually the 4th day of class.
Okay, so you're 4 days in, and they're like, okay, you're gonna do it to this
Yeah.
person.
So we did to people within the class that were taking the class already, and so it was like a trade almost. Like
They were gonna do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. So like it wasn't, and like we knew that we were just learning how to do it, so it wasn't.
Were you still nervous?
I was nervous. Yeah, I was.
Yeah, like, I feel
I was like shaking a little bit, but then
Yeah.
your hands have to be really steady, like because you're like literally inside.
Yeah.
So it was a little nerve-wracking, but
I just want to make a quick note or comment again that like I love that you talked about the fact that you took like medical terminology and you took anatomy, right? You mentioned.
Yeah.
And like that those two things obviously here at law were super helpful, like
Yeah.
tackling this. So Anything in particular, like, was it just like terms that you knew, or like what was it
So
that
for
really connected?
terms, like emesis, vomiting, like stuff like that, like we need to know, like syncope, which is fainting, like if anything happens like with the patient during the procedure, we talk about like what steps to take, like if someone faints, like head between the legs, make sure that like everything is like out and safe for the patient, because there are times where something like that could be scary and could happen. Yeah.
Any other questions for the kids? Nice job, and congratulations on your certification.
Thank you.
So cool.